everybody. So, welcome to the Hire RockStar Talent Podcast. Today, I have two employees on, two amazing employees that I had a deep conversation with. I want to introduce you to Autumn and Sierra. Autumn, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
So, Autumn actually is my daughter, but she also works for me. And Sierra works for me as well. And we started having a conversation. The conversation was so awesome and so deep that literally a voice said to me, Alan, like, other people need to hear this. Like, this is an amazing conversation. This is stuff that is happening to restaurant owners and retail owners every single day. And what I really wanted was Autumn and Sierra to come, so that way you saw the perspective on the employee side, right? On the team member side. And that doesn't happen. We always look at it through our lens. I want you to look at it through their lens, through the people that are actually in there, and this stuff is happening and is happening to them every single day. So, Sierra, welcome. I didn't say welcome to you.
Hello.
All right. So, have you guys ever been on a podcast before?
No.
All right. Well, I'm glad it was here with me. So, what we really focused on and talked about was workplace drama and the effects that it has on everybody, the company, the customer. I don't think people realize how much impact there is when there's negativity in the workplace and people fight and people rub each other the wrong way and don't know how to deal with it and don't know how to meander through it and express themselves. So this is what we're going to talk about for 95% of the time today. So how this started was I was in the office and Sierra was out at the sink, and Sierra made a comment, and she said that team communication was poor. You remember saying that, Sierra?
Yeah.
So I listened, and something said to me, most times as a leader, when you hear something like that or something that triggers you a little bit, most of the time we're like, I'll deal with it later, right? And then what happens later? 97 things get in the way. And 97 things get in the way, and we don't end up dealing with it later because we see something shiny, we go that way, right? So then it just kind of disappears, and it disappears out into the universe. Something said, get up, Alan, and talk to Sierra about this right now, because I just want to make sure that she sees it through my lens too. And that's really what I was after. So I challenged her, right? So if you remember, Sierra, I said, that I felt that it wasn't a team thing. I thought it was more of an individual thing. And what did you think about that when I challenged you?
I thought, that was definitely correct. There's certain people on the team that, are stronger with the communication skills and people that severely lack them. So it is kind of like an individual, not like necessarily the team as a whole communicating with everybody. But like one individual to like one-on-one each other.
Beautiful. So I remember back in my days in the Dunkin' world, I would hear employees, or I would listen, and you'd look online and people would say stuff like, oh, Dunkin' Donut drama, right? Or whatever restaurant or retail, Kohl's drama or whatever it was. And I used to sit back and I used to say, well, is the building or the business creating the drama? No, the building is tile and concrete and wood and framing, right? Glass, right? This is what equipment. This is what makes up the business. It's the people inside that are causing the drama, that are causing the problems. But yet, this is what everybody does: is they apply it like this blanket umbrella that it's the business, when it's so far from the truth. But yet this is, the worldview that we have around drama, is that it's the. So what ends up happening, right? People end up leaving the company and they go to another company. Maybe they go down the street to Walmart and they have the exact same thing. And they can never get out of it, right? Because they could go to Iowa in the middle of a cornfield, right? And they would find the person and the drama in the middle of the cornfield in Iowa. I guarantee it. It would happen, right? Because at the end of the day, if you don't challenge it, if you don't say, hey, wait a minute, hold on, you're doing something that irritates me, it's never going to change, right? So that's what I want to really talk to you guys about right now is, this piece. So Autumn, can you tell me some situations that you've had where you've confronted someone in this type of fashion?
Yeah, so I was in back when I worked at Dunkin's myself, I dealt with a guy, let's call him Joe, and he and I never got, along very well. Had a lot of issues. I one day I remember asking him, "Oh, like let's not clean the creamer, it's got to or let's not fill the creamer, sorry, rather than clean it." And it needed to be cleaned first thing in the morning the next day. And he went and grabbed milk, filled it in front of me, and I was like, "Hey," I said, "don't fill that. Like, that's got to be cleaned tomorrow." Then we start going back and forth, and he starts making comments under his breath, and I was like, all I did was ask one question, one simple thing, like, "Don't do that. That's it." Like, I don't know why it's got to be like a whisper, here and there, not so nice names. It just escalated from there. I started screaming. We both started screaming, and then it became a thing. Obviously, like, it wasn't in front of customers or anything, but it was enough to be like, why did that have to happen when it was one simple thing that I asked you not to do?
Why do you think that the person did that? Like, why do you think they go to that place?
I think honestly, it's just immaturity in the workplace. It's like, okay, because you're older than me, you want to be assertive or seem like you're the leader because you're older. And that's not always the case in these kind of situations. Like, you may be, 50 years old working coffee for the first time, and like, you may not know the same thing I know. I've been doing for 7 years. I know a lot. You just came into it. It doesn't mean that you know it. You've worked in a food industry, but it's not the same thing. So it's having that mindset that you're automatically wiser, or that you're more mature rather than immature as an adult, even when you're not.
Today's episode is sponsored by Heavenly Donuts. Tired of frozen egg sandwiches? What about fresh scrambled eggs instead? Visit us at Heavenly Donuts, 36 South Main Street, Derry, New Hampshire. Sierra, how about you? What situation has happened to you recently or in the past that something similar like that's happened that really triggered you and drove you nuts?
Yeah, well, relatively recently with a certain individual, let's call her Karen. I've noticed Karen had an issue with me, more of an attitude towards me than usual. Was rolling her eyes, saying things underneath her breath, um, kind of, and talking to the other girls in the back, and wasn't talking to me about it. I was not sure what the issue was, if I was doing something wrong, if I did something to offend her, or anything like that. But it seemed like something was being taken out on me, and I did not know what it was. And I didn't really know how to deal with it at the time because I consider her like a friend, not only just a coworker. So um my feelings were kind of getting a little bit hurt by that. Like, I was didn't know what I was doing wrong. And she didn't say anything to me about it at the time, but it was little comments about the dishes, getting them done, even though like clearly I was busy, or getting trash bags, even though the bag was literally just taken out. Like, I don't have multiple hands to be putting a trash bag and taking it out at multiple times. So I then afterwards confronted her, like I sent her a text and was able to kind of figure out like the situation and know that it wasn't a personal issue against me. Karen was having her own personal issues and having a tough day, but that wasn't communicated with me. So I took that very personally, when it had nothing to do with me or anything about work.
There's a question I want to ask you, but I want to make a comment first. So you said something very important. You said that, this person made this comment, but they didn't understand, it was about doing dishes or something like that, right? Some task that you hadn't got to yet, or you hadn't done, or maybe in their opinion, you didn't do it fast enough, right? Or whatever,
Yeah.
right? So, but what they didn't know was why, right? They didn't ask why. They didn't say to themselves, well, it's not that she hasn't gotten to it. Maybe there's a reason why she hasn't gotten to it, right? And this is, I think, super important that we say this, because this is the part where people, so I call it, when you shoot a gun, right? It's it's ready, aim, shoot. But that's not how we are as people, right? We shoot, ready, aim. Like we just screw up the whole way to do it correctly, right? So I think that's very important. Now, had she said, "Hey, Sierra, what's going on? You haven't started dishes yet. What's going on?" And then you told her, right? The whole situation would have been different. The whole thing would have been different, right? That one little simple piece.
Yeah.
There was this commercial that I really laugh when I see it. It's Shaquille O'Neal, and he does like a commercial for this insurance place called the General. And you always hear walk a mile in someone else's shoes. Well, he's like a 7-foot guy with like a 22 size foot, and he put his wife's shoes on, which with like heels and stuff, and had to walk a mile in her shoes. And it was the funniest thing ever. But he really got to see what it was like to walk in heels in that moment, right? Now, I bet you he'll never bitch again or complain again if she's going too slow or something else, or why don't you go faster, right, when she's in those heels, because now he actually experienced it, right? But this is what we don't do. This drives me crazy, right? Because this is actually a maturity thing, right? This is a learning and growing experience that people just they don't take the time to look at it through the other person's lens or the other person's eyes, right? So the comment that you made that I wanted to talk about also was about feelings, right? You said people don't know how to express their feelings. Can you tell me some more about that?
Yeah, so I've seen a good amount of people, have attitudes or, have issues about things, and it's clearly affecting them, making them like their demeanor more negative. And I've seen them, go talk to the person they might be closer with, or go on their phone and text, or say little things underneath their breath, or just try to beat around the bush. And they don't really know how to come to you and directly address the issue. And that kind of exacerbates it more because you're not getting to the root of the problem. You're,
Mm.
bitching in the background, playing the little gossip game, like we're in middle school, instead of going to the person and just confronting them and saying, "Hey, this needs to be fixed. Do you think we can make like a resolution?" Whatever. But I've seen a lot of people just not knowing how to get their feelings across properly and do it in a way that is also respectful.